All right, everyone, so 1,720,000 units have been sold Canada-wide. That means 1,720,000 handshakes and transactions have been done. In how many years? You will find out. But what I really want to talk about, it's that impact that happened a few years ago. What is actually happening today, even though we have viewers and we have the other side claiming that no, the economy is doing just fine and everybody is doing just great. So stay tuned and let's get right into the video. All right, so as mentioned, 1,720,000 transactions Canada-wide happened between 2020 and 2022. So in these 3 years, we have seen an enormous hugs, handshakes, and transactions. So let's get right into the data. So in 2020, we have seen 551,000 transactions, right? Yes, during that period of time, we have seen that dip. But this is what happened after that dip. So all of a sudden, market paused and then exploded, which translated into low interest rates, work from home shifts. So that was that mind shift. Everybody wanted it. We know what happened. Now stay tuned. Now we get into 2021. 667,000 homes sold Canada-wide, and we broke the record in Canada. So that is a huge number. All these transactions, everybody making money hand over fist. Because you don't forget, right? It's not only the transaction. Real estate makes money. That person selling makes money. That person buying a fridge also makes money. Home Depot makes money. Everybody makes money, which is a chain reaction, and it creates obviously an economy within that particular transaction. So we broke the record in 2021. Now, in 2021, all-time record high, sub rates were at 2%. Fear of missing out, we know that. Everybody was saying, I will never be able to buy a home. Lack of listings. Everybody was shaking their head. They wanted to get into that market. They were borrowing money from their relatives. They were borrowing money from family. They were trying to get into a loan or a mortgage somehow. They didn't ask how, but they just wanted to buy that particular home, a condo, you name it, right? So that was created then. In 2022, we move on. 498,000 transactions in 2022. Now, that the sales have dropped, right, by 25%, but the momentum was still there. Rate hikes basically killed that momentum when we went onwards in 2022. So now, the question for you viewers, where are you standing? Do you believe that the market will continue to feather down moving from 2025 onwards, or we basically got out of the gutter and we're looking at the situation from a bright side, and we will see a prosperous 2025 and 2026? And yes, we have people commenting boom in June, boom in July. We had people commenting boom in February and March, right? Like spring of 2025, even though in 2025, that spring market was the worst spring market ever. It has seen decline numbers. The sales were horrible, guys, horrible. So I just don't see the math working out. So the question here is, are these people underwater? Like, think about it. There's 1,720,000 transactions. So is majority underwater? And who is not underwater? So let's get into it. Now, the pre-con buyers from 2021 to 2024 closings are at the ultimate risk, right? Because the prices are down 15 to 30%, depends on obviously the community and the area, right? These people are suffering heavy, right? Now, many can't sell without huge losses. Many cannot even qualify for their mortgages that they signed years ago because the rates have changed, right? And also, many cannot even get the right appraisal. When I say right, I mean they cannot get the appraisal to be the value that they paid for years ago. Now, they came up with blanket mortgages, which is another feature that the bank will approve you for the original purchase price. However, the current market value could be 30% less. So you're paying for something that doesn't really have the value, and by the time you get to a par or to an equilibrium of your mortgage being at par with your market value, it could be a decade, maybe even longer, right? So people renting or leasing out their units, if they are able to qualify and get into that and all of that stuff, are underwater on average between $700 to $1,200 a month. So all of your investors and stuff like that bought in these periods are underwater on average between $700 and $1,200 a month. Negative cash flow is a given nowadays, right? So, and they cannot simply walk away even if they sell it, right? Because they're claiming, obviously, they're not claiming, it is the truth. They will lose the down payment of maybe 20%, maybe even bigger. But majority of these developers were seeking and asking for a minimum of 20% down payment. So if they sell, they basically lose their down payment plus more, right? So they're trying to stick around, and it's just that debt ratio doesn't make sense anymore. Well, who is still okay? Well, long-term owners that bought prior of 2018 are usually okay. So now the market is catching to that, to these years now, right? In some segments, freehold properties are hovering around that price point. But if you have bought anywhere in the peak, or if you have bought anywhere in the pandemic, the chances are 99% that you will be underwater. So having said that, if people that bought, in 2015, 2017, riding low mortgages, or bought at that current market value, seem to be okay at this point. So fixed rate buyers in the early 2020s. Yes, some buyers, but not many, but some buyers took that fixed rate, which is usually 5 years. So now we're in 2025. So everything is a bottleneck situation. Think about it, guys, right? So in 2020, whoever did not have the stomach to take that risk, right? Even though a variable rate was so much better, but they did not want to take the risk. So they took a 5-year mortgage and they locked that in, which is fine. But now in 2025, the renewals are coming. So around 1.2 million renewals will hit in 2025 and 2026, which will add more stress to our current market. Now, regions like Saskatchewan, Quebec are more stable. Yes, I did a video on this channel as well regarding Quebec. So Quebec seems to be doing fine, right? Like, so they have a different, they even have different laws in these states, right? But they seem to be doing fine, and that market during these peak months and years did not see huge gains and increases, right? They did have seen increases, but not like what we have seen in Ontario and British Columbia. So maybe that has saved the actual after effect that we're currently seeing in Ontario, British Columbia, and other parts of Canada. So the reality check is right here. And guys, the numbers don't lie. I personally don't care whether you believe that things are rosy and sunny and fine. Good for you, right? And if you're doing great, God bless you. And I don't mind, like, if you're saying, hey, look, everything is going down the toilet. It is what it is. It is your opinion. I believe that we do not have a chance to correct this market as quickly, because it will take time to adjust. It will take everyone else to absorb the impact. Because what I'm saying here, these are only transactions. This is only real estate. People are forgetting the times where people were buying luxury boats, yachts, watches, expensive vacations. They were buying investment properties. They were buying land. They were buying all kinds of stuff that they maybe didn't need it, right? Because the FOMO was created in that segment, and it was like that, right? So people were even buying electronics. I know people buying cars. They said, like, I have to buy this car at a dealership, And I remember talking to a guy, it was a BMW. In fact, it was an M5. And I said, okay, good for you, but well, like this car is over six figures, right? Like I have to, it's my dream. If I don't buy it now, I will never, ever be able to buy it. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? It's like, no, they're not gonna make it anymore. There are no chips available and all of this stuff. And that's the only one on planet Earth. I'm like, okay, so he paid, I believe at the time, I think he was saying somewhere around 30,000 more than he could have bought it only, months prior to that, right? So before that FOMO, right? So you have to take also those segments into consideration, because when you're writing something that you overpaid, right? Like it almost doesn't make sense. And that absorption, it has to come out of your pocket, and it's time related. Like months have to go by and even years, so you can say, okay, now I know what's going on. So let's get into some numbers. Ontario delinquency 71% year over year. 45% of mortgages renew by 2026. Yes, so now we had 55% in 2025. And just because of that, we have seen that the economy is breathing more heavy. We have seen there's way more listings available on any given market. You walk any neighborhood, you will see a for sale sign. That was not the case a few years ago. It was not the case. So now there are multiple for sale signs anywhere you go. It doesn't matter what community. Even the AAA top tier communities are having a hard time, and they have to actually, I would say, compete with one another, even in AAA communities, right? So CMHC warns 1 in 4 buyers can't refinance affordably, which means, like these people that are stuck, even if they took 5 years in 2020, now they have to renew. Obviously, they have to renew at a higher rate, and they will have to start breathing much more heavier, because if you don't make more money, and believe me, businesses are struggling to push these limits in income. It's hard to produce more money now. Like it is hard, right? And if you try to do that, there's the gross income versus the net income. Like, I don't care what your gross is. What are you taking home? That's the most important thing. And it seems like a lot more people need to invest more in their business and in order to have that income back. But then the net seems to be smaller and smaller. It just seems like it, right? So now we get obviously into the unemployment, which is another sector, and it's growing. And in Ontario, it's growing by the minute, right? Like I know so many people, I've spoke to so many people, they're like, I'm looking for a job for months. I cannot get a job, or I cannot replace my job with the current pay, right? And somewhere else, right? Like if they are making $40 or $30 an hour, it's hard to replace that. So I also want to tell you a quick story. I spoke to somebody, they have a listing, they called me today in Aldershot. So Aldershot is a community down in Burlington, basically across from Hamilton. You see the bridge and all of that stuff. That community, prior COVID and stuff like that, was one of those communities. Look, like if you want to buy something and you don't have the best budget in the world, that's where you would go, right? So it's kind of depressing sometimes. You're looking across the bridge, you see all these steel plants, and it's kind of gloomy and all of that stuff. But look, you're still in Burlington on this side, and you still have the connections. You don't have to cross the bridge. And there's also that psychological aspect, because a lot of people don't want to drive over that bridge, right? So Aldershot was that perfect community, budget friendly, and all of that stuff. And then during those pandemic or COVID years, all of a sudden shoot up, right? Like crazy. New construction, new developments, towers, buildings, commercial. People started building custom homes all of a sudden. Like, it was just nuts, right? And my phone rang today, picked up a colleague, and she was like, look, like, what should I do? My clients just don't understand. I'm like, well, first thing, you should share my channel if you don't mind. Let them watch it, right? Like, just watch it. You know what I mean? because they started with $719,000 for a condo on Plains Road. However, within a span of 6 months, right? Like they didn't reduce, but at the span of 6 months, everybody else started reducing. They got to 650. So then my colleague, she convinced the client, say, look, if you want to move this unit, we got to be more competitive. So then they drop it to 649. In that time, units started selling close to $600,000. So just imagine that. So everybody's trying to catch their tail now, and I want to lose money, and if I sell for this and that, it doesn't make sense and whatever, right? So if you are in the market, be careful, do your due diligence, and you have to be ahead of the curve. Don't wait for the curve, be ahead of the curve. Anticipate what will happen, try to calculate, right? So that's the best advice I can give you, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video and you got some value out of this video. So please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.